Dual Cultivation, WN, Chapter 11. Stick your butt towards my way. I will get straight to the point. Disciple Su Yang, do you have the capabilities to treat my injury? Inside his room, Su Yang sat on his bed while Elder Lan stood in front of him with her gaze staring daggers at him. Injury? You are not injured? You, Elder Lan's expression froze at his words. What did he mean by that? She's clearly injured and he's well aware of it. What do you mean by that? She asked. The pain in your rear is not an injury but an illness, a condition of sorts. Su Yang said in a nonchalant tone. What did you say? An illness? How is that possible? I have never been sick once in my entire life, yet you are telling me that I have an illness? Elder Lan, your existence in this sect is a rare one. I almost didn't believe it when I first saw you. What do you mean by that? Elder Lan frowned. Su Yang stood up from the bed and approached her. Elder Lan didn't move and stared at him with a serious expression, wondering what he was up to. Suddenly, Su Yang brought his face closer to hers, and he took a deep breath through his nose, almost like a dog sniffing a scent. What do you think you are doing? Elder Lan took a few hasty steps back, her face reddening from his unexpected actions. Are you looking to die? As I thought, you are still pure with your chastity intact, a pure maiden. Su Yang smiled. What? How did you? His words caused Elder Lan to tremble, and her eyes widened from shock. How could he possibly know that she is still a virgin? Did you run her mouth to him? It would be hard enough to find someone within this sect to have a pure body at my age, let alone a sect elder such as yourself, Elder Lan. Su Yang sat back down on the bed, his gaze sharpened. You have cultivated a technique meant for dual cultivators, yet you remain as a pure maiden to this day. You are simply courting death. Elder Lan also became serious after hearing his words. Tell me more, she said. Dual cultivation is when a man and woman indulge in sexual intercourse by using the yin within the woman and the yang within the man to cultivate. This I'm sure you are familiar with. Yet you cultivate normally using a technique meant for dual cultivation. Of course, there will obviously be side effects. The yin within your body is currently unstable. If you continue going down this route, then you will only experience even greater pain, eventually falling apart and dying an early death. The more Elder Lan listened to Su Yang's explanation, the deeper her frown got. Could her cultivation method really be the reason that she's in so much pain? And you are supposed to be a sect elder who guides her disciples. How laughable, Su Yang snorted coldly. Anger flashed across Elder Lan's eyes, but she didn't say anything, she couldn't. If what he said was true, then she can only blame herself for being too prideful. If what you are saying is true, then what are you suggesting? That I should hurry up and go spread my legs for a man? Su Yang stared at the quivering light in her eyes for a moment. He then shook his head and said, while that would be the most efficient and quickest way to balance your yin, I have another method that does not require you to spread anything. However, I am only willing to do it if you accept 3 conditions. Elder Lan turned silent, her gaze still with hesitation. What are these conditions? She asked. Su Yang lifted his fingers one by one and said, 1. You will be here once a week for the next 3 months for treatment. 2. You will not speak of whatever happens in this room to anyone, not even your seniors. And lastly, you are to be my sponsor for this service and advertise for me. What? You want me to advertise for you, an outer court disciple? You must be out of your mind. I am a sect elder. I am still too young to throw my face around like candy. I refuse. Elder Lan crossed her arms, looking adamant on her decision. Is that so? Then, good luck to you, Elder Lan. I have already given you the answer you seek for treatment. If there is nothing else you need, please leave. And don't forget to close the door after yourself. Su Yang laid on the bed and closed his eyes as though he wanted to take a nap. Elder Lan could only stand there with a bewildered expression, her body trembling from anger. Not once since she became a sect elder 10 years ago had she experienced such disregard and disgrace from anyone, let alone a mere outer court disciple. Not once, until she met Su Yang. Su Yang, how dare you talk to a sect elder with such a disrespectful tone? I have tolerated your attitude for far too long. I will have you expelled from this sect by tomorrow. However, despite her loud voice filled with anger, despite being threatened with expulsion from the sect, Su Yang remained unmoving on his bed with a comfortable expression on his face, almost as if none of her words had entered his ears. Su Yang, Elder Lan growled his name in a low voice. I will remember this. Just as she was prepared to storm out of his room, an excruciating pain appeared in her buttocks, causing her to fall on her knees. Why now? She cursed inwardly. It was at this moment Su Yang opened his eyes, and Elder Lan's round rear was the first and only thing he could see. After struggling on the ground for a half a minute, Elder Lan finally gave up. Su Yang, I accept your conditions? Just help me, please, she said in a crying voice, tears falling off the corners of her closed eyes. Su Yang sighed as he rolled his sleeves. Very well, stick your butt towards my way and don't move.